So, guys, let's talk about the white South Africans today. Some people, if not most people, don't know the reason behind the white South African, and they don't know that the white people live in South Africa today. So, I want you to take your time, watch this video, listen to the video to the end. You have a lot to learn in this video. You understand and see the reason white people live in South Africans today. Let's go and watch this video. Thank you. Don't forget to like, share, and comment. Let's go.
South Africa, a land of breathtaking beauty and diverse cultures, holds a complex history woven from the threads of many peoples. Among them are white South Africans, a group with deep roots and a legacy intertwined with both privilege and struggle. To understand their place in South Africa today, we must first journey back to their beginnings, exploring the origins that have shaped their identity. The story begins in the 17th century with the arrival of Dutch settlers from the Netherlands seeking new opportunities in the southern tip of Africa. These early pioneers, seeking refuge from religious persecution in Europe, laid the foundation for what would become Afrikaner culture, a unique blend of Dutch, French Huguenot, and indigenous influences. They carved out farms and settlements, establishing a foothold in the Cape. As decades turned into centuries, more Europeans found their way to South Africa's shores. The British, drawn by the strategic importance of the Cape Sea route, established a permanent presence in the 19th century. This influx brought about a clash of cultures and ambitions as the British and the descendants of the earlier Dutch settlers, the Afrikaners, vied for control of land and resources. The arrival of smaller but significant groups such as the French Huguenots fleeing religious persecution and German immigrants seeking new lives further enriched the tapestry of white South African heritage. Each group carried its own traditions, languages and dreams, contributing to the complex social fabric of the nation. The history of white South Africans is inextricably linked to the broader narrative of colonialism and its enduring legacy. From the first Dutch settlements, the seeds of inequality were sown as indigenous populations were gradually dispossessed of their land and subjugated under European rule. This pattern of conquest and control cast a long shadow, shaping the course of South African history for centuries to come. The discovery of diamonds and gold in the late 19th century ignited new waves of European immigration and intensified competition for resources. The Anglo-Boer Wars, brutal conflicts fought between the British Empire and the two Boer republics, the South African Republic, also known as Transvaal, and the Orange Free State, left deep scars on the national psyche. These wars, marked by guerrilla warfare and the confinement of Boer civilians in concentration camps, solidified divisions between Afrikaners and the British. The aftermath of the Anglo-Boer Wars saw the rise of Afrikaner nationalism, fueled by resentment towards British imperialism and economic hardship. This sentiment, coupled with a desire to maintain control over the black African majority, laid the groundwork for the formal system of racial segregation that would come to define South Africa for decades: apartheid. The year 1948 marked a turning point in South African history, as the National Party, driven by its apartheid ideology, rose to power. This ushered in an era of systematic racial segregation and discrimination, codified in a series of laws designed to separate people based on race and entrench white minority rule. Black South Africans were stripped of their basic rights, subjected to forced removals, and confined to impoverished townships. The international community condemned apartheid as a crime against humanity, imposing sanctions and isolating South Africa on the world stage. Within the country, a powerful resistance movement emerged, led by figures like Nelson Mandela and the African National Congress, or ANC. Years of struggle, marked by protests, imprisonment and bloodshed, finally culminated in the dismantling of apartheid in 1994. The transition to a multiracial democracy was a moment of profound hope and possibility. Nelson Mandela, released after 27 years of imprisonment, became South Africa's first black president, symbolizing the promise of a new era of equality and reconciliation. However, the legacy of apartheid, with its deep-rooted inequalities and social divisions, continues to cast a long shadow over the present. Within the white South African community, distinct cultural identities have evolved over centuries, most notably between Afrikaners and English-speaking South Africans. While sharing the same geographical space, their historical experiences and cultural expressions reveal fascinating differences. Afrikaners, descendants of the original Dutch settlers, developed a unique culture rooted in their language. Afrikaans, a derivative of Dutch that incorporated elements of indigenous languages. Their history of pioneering and struggle for independence fostered a strong sense of identity and a deep connection to the land. English-speaking South Africans, on the other hand, have been more closely tied to British culture and institutions. Their arrival in successive waves, particularly during the British colonial period, brought with it a distinct set of values, traditions, and linguistic influences. Despite their differences, both groups have contributed significantly to South African society. From the arts and literature to business and politics, their influence can be felt in every facet of life. However, the historical baggage of colonialism and apartheid continues to shape their interactions, reminding us that building a truly united South Africa requires ongoing dialogue and understanding. Section 5. Shifting Sands, Demographics and Economic Realities. The end of apartheid brought about significant demographic and economic shifts in South Africa. The once clear-cut racial hierarchies have become more fluid, with social mobility increasing for some segments of the Black African population. However, stark inequalities persist, with white South Africans, on average, still enjoying higher levels of income, education, and access to opportunities. According to the 2025 census, white South Africans constitute approximately 7.8% of the population, a decline from previous years. This demographic shift reflects a complex interplay of factors, including emigration, lower birth rates among white South Africans, and the legacy of apartheid-era policies that restricted Black African advancement. Economically, white South Africans continue to hold a disproportionate share of the country's wealth. While Black economic empowerment policies have been implemented to address historical imbalances, true economic transformation remains a work in progress. Issues such as land ownership, access to capital, and representation in senior management positions continue to be points of contention. Section 6. A lingering influence. White South Africans today. Despite their dwindling numbers and the dismantling of apartheid, white South Africans continue to wield significant influence in various sectors of society. Their historical dominance in business, agriculture, and finance has endowed them with a legacy of economic power that persists today. Many white South Africans occupy leadership positions in major corporations, shaping economic policies and influencing investment decisions. Their control over vast tracts of agricultural land, a legacy of colonial dispossession, gives them a powerful stake in the agricultural sector, a crucial pillar of the South African economy. Beyond the realm of economics, white South Africans are actively involved in civil society, academia, and the arts. Their voices and perspectives continue to shape public discourse and cultural production. From renowned authors and artists to influential academics and activists, they contribute to the rich tapestry of South African life. Section 7. The Land Question, Restitution and Reconciliation. One of the most contentious issues facing South Africa today is the legacy of land dispossession, a painful reminder of the injustices of apartheid. The vast majority of land remains in the hands of white South Africans, while many Black South Africans remain economically marginalized and disconnected from their ancestral lands. The government's land reform program, aimed at redistributing land to Black South Africans who were forcibly removed during apartheid, has been plagued by challenges. Delays, corruption, and a lack of capacity have hindered progress, fueling frustration and resentment among those who feel justice has been slow in coming. The debate over land reform is complex and emotionally charged. While many white South Africans acknowledge the need for redress and support a fair and equitable process, there are also fears of economic instability and concerns about property rights. Finding a solution that balances historical injustices with the need for economic stability and social cohesion remains a pressing challenge. Section 8. Affirmative Action, Leveling the Playing Field. In an effort to address the deep-seated inequalities entrenched by apartheid, South Africa implemented affirmative action policies after 1994. These policies, designed to promote the advancement of previously disadvantaged groups, have been implemented in various sectors, including education, employment, and government contracts. Affirmative action has been instrumental in increasing the representation of Black South Africans in universities, businesses, and government. It has created opportunities for individuals from previously marginalized communities to access education, gain employment, and contribute to the economy in ways that were unimaginable under apartheid. However, affirmative action has also been met with criticism from some quarters. Some argue that it amounts to reverse discrimination, disadvantaging white South Africans who are denied opportunities based on their race. Others argue that it has not gone far enough in dismantling the structural inequalities that continue to disadvantage Black South Africans. Section 9. Looking ahead, challenges and opportunities. As South Africa navigates the complexities of its post-apartheid era, white South Africans face a unique set of challenges and opportunities. Their historical privilege comes with a responsibility to acknowledge past injustices and work towards a more equitable future for all South Africans. The path forward requires open and honest dialogue about the legacy of apartheid and its enduring impact on South African society. It demands empathy, understanding, and a willingness to challenge ingrained prejudices and assumptions. For white South Africans, this means confronting their own privilege, listening to the experiences of their fellow citizens, and actively working to dismantle the systems of inequality that still permeate society. The future of South Africa hinges on the ability of all its citizens, regardless of race or background, to come together to build a nation that reflects the principles of equality, justice, and opportunity for all. This requires a collective effort to heal the wounds of the past, bridge the divides of the present, and create a future where the promise of the Rainbow Nation becomes a reality.